can stand for the pledge.
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So since we have our auditor here ready to go, I suggest we move the auditor's report up in the program tonight, and then we'll resume with the rest of the items.
So maybe could you ask for an acceptance to
Can everyone-
the agenda as modified?
Does everyone accept the agenda as modified?
Yes.
So mo-
So moved.
Second.
Everyone in favor?
Aye. Michael.
Yes.
So, good evening. So tonight, and I'll allow certainly Carol to say a few words and introduce Jamie, our auditor. But before we do so, I want to acknowledge Carol and Evan, our treasurer, for all the fantastic work that they do on a daily basis. As the board is aware from the preview from the audit committee meeting, that we actually have a fine audit report that the public will hear about this evening. But all that hard work and diligence behind the scenes is really because of the skill and oversight of Carol and Evan, who deserve our thanks and gratitude. So, job well done.
Thank you. So I will just introduce Jamie Cody, who's from Bonadillo and Company, to present our financial statements. And before he just speaks, I would echo what Chris just said, that Evan did a lot of the work, and the Superior Business Office staff that we have in the district. Thank you.
The floor is yours, Jamie.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board. As Carl said, I'm J.B. Cody, principal with Bonadillo Group, and I was responsible for your audit. We have completed our audit of the Irvington Union Free School District as of June 30th, 2019, and we will issue our report dated October 15th today, tomorrow morning, first thing, so it can be uploaded to the website at the State Education Department. We have previously met with the audit committee. We discussed our audit and the financial results in detail. And tonight I'm here to summarize the results of the audit and some financial highlights. We have issued unmodified opinions on the financial statements. That's the highest level of assurance that a CPA firm can give on a set of financial statements. A few things, highlights: budgeted revenue, positive variance this year. Actual revenue was $305,000 higher than was budgeted. Budget expenditures, also a positive variance. The actual expenses were $770,000 lower than what was budgeted. So overall, you had about a $1.1 million positive budget variance this year. The general fund, actual results, revenues exceeded expenditures by $323,000. That increased fund balance to about $6 million. Of that $6 million, they put into different buckets. 2.6 of that, 2.9 of that was restricted. $500,000 of that was assigned to be used for certain matters, and $422,000 of that is used for next year's budget, for the 2020 budget. That left about $2.5 million unassigned, which is 4% of the 2020 budget, and that's the maximum amount that's allowed under SED regulations. So as part of our audit, we had no difficulties, we had no adjustments, we had no disagreements. The audit went very smooth. Evan and Carol are well prepared. Our financial statements were done, audit was completed within 1 month of, by the end of August. It was all wrapped up. So everything went very well. So with that, I ask if there's any questions.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you very
Jamie,
much,
for all
Jamie.
your work.
Thank you.
As
And
always.
this will be uploaded to our website tomorrow?
Yes, the draft has already been uploaded, but we'll put the final copy on now that you, once you have the resolution to approve it tonight, and then I will upload it to SED
Last year, and we asked questions about
as per
that.
requirements.
Shifted out of the audits. Our OPEB
Thank
expenses.
you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Like, I don't have to ask again.
So, Dr. Harrison, Just going back over to you for any district updates and so forth.
Absolutely. So good evening, everyone. It's really hard to believe that we're over a month into the first school year already. And when we think about where we were just about a month ago, we had been just sort of finished a couple days ago dealing with a surprise snowstorm in October, if you remember. So I'm glad that it was nearly 70 degrees outside instead of 6 inches of snow on the ground. To begin, I'd like just to give a few comments regarding homecoming, which was just a week ago, and certainly commend our school community for providing for an amazing week for our students and families alike. Really, gratitude and compliments should be shared with the school administration, our senior class advisors, the Booster Club, our interim AD, Stuart Hansen, marching band, and the director, Deb Tusman, our student leaders, coaches, athletes, students in the broader school community. It was a great series of events that certainly brought us together. We had some wonderful turnout, some good weather on most of the nights that helped that. But it's just such a school spirit builder when we think about the parade, pep rally, spirit week, and we had our first ever senior tailgate this year that was organized by our student leaders and supported by a number of faculty members who came out to help supervise. So it was a great week of Bulldog spirit, and I want to thank everyone for the role that they played in it. In the coming week or so, we're going to be sending out a survey to the community where we're seeking feedback on a modified dress code. It'll be emailed to the entire school community, and it will link to a survey where folks will be able to offer feedback on this particular revision. And then from there, we'll be also soliciting volunteers to make a representative committee that will then review those pieces of feedback and then make an ultimate recommendation that will come to the board for approval. So we'd anticipate that going out within the next week. I also want to mention, as we've discussed here, our desire to form a wellness and sustainability committee. Over the past couple weeks, we've sent out in our communications advertisement and a call for volunteers. I'm excited to say that we've gotten over a dozen folks that have responded to that. 18 now?
I think up to 18.
All right, so the number's gone up.
Still
since
over a
this
dozen.
morning. It is over a dozen, but it's increased 50% throughout the day. So that said, we have a lot of folks that are interested in participating, and we certainly look forward to getting that initiative underway. And we trust that our volunteers will come up with some great ideas that will help not only improve the efficiency of our school district, but minimize our carbon footprint and be a little friendlier on our environment. And I would venture to guess that we may see some recommendations come from the committee that will surface during our budgetary process, as well as those that just may be simple changes in practice and protocols that could make our district a little friendlier to the environment. We have also continued to make progress related to the capital project, which we'll hear from the Buildings and Grounds Committee this evening about. We have put out a call to the community for some volunteers. We do have some committee members that are going to serve on the committees, but we have advertised through district newsletters the opportunity for folks to submit their interest to sit on either current committees or future by emailing capitalbond@irvingtonschools.org. And as I said before, certainly more to come later in the meeting. At our next board meeting on the 29th, Dr. Kaur will lead a discussion, a workshop on the topic of professional development. Here we're looking forward to having some real purposeful dialogue where we're going to be sharing examples of our current work and some of the progress that we've realized over past years. We'll talk about a framework for a soon-to-be developed plan that will be developed this year. And then looking at some of the next steps in our process and the evolution of the PD opportunities for our faculty and staff here in the Irvington schools. And then finally, next week it's also another special event, not only digging into some great topics like professional development, but we will acknowledge our Board of Education. We always have board recognition in October. We have selected the meeting of the 29th to recognize our trustees for their commitment and dedication to the Irvington school community. So we'll be joined by a number of our partner groups to come in and give a few words and tokens of appreciation to the board. So we look forward to doing that as well in 2 weeks.
Can I ask a clarifying question code plan that you stated. To be clear, the policy committee is not going to be reviewing this at any point, correct? So when it shows up on the agenda for the board, is it gonna show up on the agenda for discussion and then adoption in the same meeting?
We would have discussion followed by the adoption.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. Thank you.
Okay, so we now move to our committee reports, B and G. Want me to take it? You want to take it?
I don't think you were at the last one, were you? One of you guys was absent.
Yeah, everybody was there.
Maybe we weren't as prominent a presence as we sometimes are at the meetings.
Somebody was absent, whatever.
Go ahead.
We met on September 27th with the B&G committee, Carol, Dr. Harrison, Michael, myself, and Brian, and representatives from H2M. Trenton was not at the meeting. And we reviewed the different phases of the plans. We're doing it in two phases, excuse me, and we've explained the different phases, correct, at a previous meeting.
Well, actually, that was a question, Lynn. Have we explained the two phases in public? Because if not, I think that we're at a point, if
Okay.
not now, soon to share that.
And we are going to be making a touch point, a presentation to the board, but basically, we can't do the entire project over 1 year span. So we've broken it up into what is important, needs to be done, for example, the boiler at Dow's Lane, something that's critical. And we also group by schools, so we put certain projects together because it has to be submitted by building to SED. So you can't do something at the high school, but then do some things at the middle school. It has to be done by building. So, for example, middle school, enclosing the campus and the athletic fields, that's all with the same building. So that is gonna get done in the first phase as opposed to the entrance at the high school, that's in phase 2, just as examples. So we discussed the timeline, about committees, we've been advertising for people to volunteer on 2 committees that we have formed, and the meetings are scheduled for October 24th?
And November 4th.
And November 4th. So it's 2 meetings. One is of a safety group that we've assembled or are in the process of assembling with community members, village members, faculty where appropriate. I don't have the list in front of me, so, you know.
Representatives
some
from
committees.
most every stakeholder group.
Right, right, every stakeholder group. And that's happening on we said October 24th.
Both
and
groups are
November.
meeting on the 24th and the 4th.
Right. We have another another meeting this Friday. And subsequently after that, we will be making a mini presentation touching base with the board publicly.
Yeah, the goal would be one of the November meetings to have an update to the board with maybe some designs that we can bring to you.
Mhm.
And the goal would be to have some preliminary designs done, have the feedback from the committees, have H2M rework those designs if they need to, and then come to the board with some preliminary designs. We're actually close to getting ready to be the designs. The whole idea is to get these designs at a point where we have agreement so that H2M can create the documents they need to get SED, to submit to SED. We're trying to stay on a timeline here in order to do that, in order to get this all done by June. So Maria talked to the phases, and the phases will depend on us getting those drawings to SED by a certain time, and also, making sure that, that we get the approvals from SED. So there's a lot on, like I would say a teeter-totter sometimes, but we're trying to make sure we stay on the good side where we're keeping it nice and level here, so.
Right, because at the beginning of the school year, the turnaround for a lot of these projects were, at the beginning,
Right,
was
but-
less than 4 weeks, and now that's creeping up to,
Yeah.
now we're over 2 months, I believe?
Probably, yeah.
Around 2 months. So the quicker we get through this, but obviously, we're not rushing it, but, time is of the essence. And we have Carol's created a timeline with H2M, and we're sticking to it.
As much as we can. I mean, obviously, The most important things are going first, and also the things we think we can kind of sense knock out, are going first. And anything that's really more involved with stakeholder input, like the reconstruction of the library, the entrance reconstruction, and the Dow's Lane Library, those that are more involved will be in phase 2. So we're trying to get all of the safety, security things in phase 1 to the extent possible.
I guess the way to say it is the more engaged in terms of the design aesthetic or engagement that it would have for teachers or students.
Right, that's gonna, we can't
Gonna
rush
take more
that.
time.
We
That's
can't
right.
rush that. And as soon as we get the design submitted for phase 1, where the things like the boiler and the roof and things that we can do, then we'll start that process to give us the time, so we're not rushing at the same point next year.
Right.
So just to clarify, the two groups that are meeting on both the 24th and the 4th are a safety group?
So one is really, we're calling it Enclose the Campus Committee, so it's to the design of how we're going to enclose this campus. So we're really just actually calling it Enclose the Campus as opposed to safety, because there's other elements of safety, but it will probably morph into something like that more. And then the second group is the athletics piece of it, which is the athletics building, the bleachers, the tower, press box, things like that.
So if there aren't, if these two meetings, there's still available seats and folks are specifically interested in one or the other?
They should contact Capital Bond at irvingtonschools.org, and we'll make.
But also, the goal is we're looking for people with particular experience and expertise. We're just, not looking for anyone to necessarily sit in committees. We want to leverage the resources in the community where people have particular skills that could come to bear.
Right. And so then they'll get the information if their background is acceptable, the times of these meetings. Thank you.
So should we move now to communications?
Michael doesn't mind it.
Sure. I feel like I'm missing a few things, but I would say that in our first couple meetings that we looked at, we've started to follow up on the conversation from last spring and summer's community survey, particularly around the lens of how we can continue to be more effective in our communication. I think there's been a lot of steps we've taken over the last few years with improved emails and a brand-new website, those sorts of things. But one step we took that a number of us participated in as trustees was to go to open houses and speak at those this past month. So that's part of our conversation. Additionally, we looked at the website. We have our new Director of Technology, Jay, and so one of the things we're looking at is with this website that's now been part of our district for a year is the process of how do we continue to keep it updated. And so we did an audit of the website in terms of what are the different facets that need to be updated and how regularly do those things need to be updated. And so that was part of a process that we looked at and the district will be implementing. Additionally, there's some discussion I wanted to share with the board that, as you know, presently the meetings are recorded and then shared a few days later on the website, but we will be doing, Jay is taking a look to see if it might be possible, and then we can look at the possibility of live streaming our meetings in the future. So I know a few other districts do that presently, and that's an opportunity for us. Additionally,
Is that through the village channel? No.
I'm not sure technically how it would be accomplished, but
Do it potentially through YouTube or a service embedded on our website.
What about we used to be able to do through the village
The
website?
village would need to have a substantial update in their technology to match what we have here in the district.
Oh, okay.
so those are the main things, but I'll look to you, Dr. Harrison. Is there another piece that?
No, I think you covered the main items that we've discussed. Some of the future work that we're gonna look at is, as you referenced, the meetings, but possibly digging into some of the survey data related to communication. We talked about the possibility of having some focus groups to get
That's
some
right.
more feedback related to those particular areas of the annual survey.
Right, so another stakeholder opportunity ahead, which is for folks who'd like, that we'll reach out to look at reflecting on our communications.
Has it In addition to live streaming our meetings on the village channel, what about just getting them on the channel at different times?
It's a technology issue.
Oh, it's the same issue,
Yeah.
whether it's live or not.
That's my understanding. Edutech has spent a good amount of time interacting with village personnel, and they would, the last that I heard was that they would need to overhaul their service, because even when we downgrade our video quality, it's still beyond what they're able of broadcasting as well.
Curriculum?
Sure. We had a very productive conversation. I thought of some stuff to share back to the whole board. I think, first and foremost, I think there's a Tri-State Consortium visit coming down the pipe, focused in on STEM work, based on our expansion through K through 12 with the project Lead the Way. I think everybody was forwarded the rubrics right over the weekend. So that's happening. We had a really robust conversation around the history textbooks. That's going to expand into a deeper conversation amongst the whole board, but we found some place to sort of land softly for the moment in regards to moving forward.
Is there a date that you need to know if anyone wants to partake in the tri-state visit?
Yeah, sooner than
Yeah.
later from planning purposes.
No, would be good.
So
I mean,
can we do
I'm
it?
doing interview schedules right now,
Okay,
so
so by Thursday, if board members would like to participate,
that would be helpful.
Yeah,
um,
let us know.
Work around certain timelines.
But it has to be in person. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, but are
It
there
cannot be a
certain-
call-in.
There's certain, what's the amount of time?
I have flexibility on time, so depending on, once I know who's interested, I can work with, usually it's in pairs, it's not an individual interview.
and it's about an hour, right? The interview is about an hour?
Yeah, it's about an hour, and if there's a lot of people that want to do it, then it would be multiple meetings. If there's just a couple of people, it would just be one. And once I know who it is, then I can work with individuals to figure out what makes the most sense.
And it's on the 20th and 21st, right, of November?
Yes.
It would have to be the 20th or 21st, and on the 20th, it would not be until, at the earliest, 10 a.m. So if early morning is what you're looking, and they're not here until at least 8.
Yeah, but the big thing I think to come out is that there'll be a deeper conversation about textbooks in the district and going forward. I think it'll be a very meaningful conversation.
Yeah, and I want to say it's not just necessarily about textbooks, but it's a conversation more generally about the resources that are being devoted to classrooms, whether it's textbooks or online resources, and understanding where textbooks fit in that overall set of materials.
Great, thank you. I look forward to that conversation, and that's being surfaced.
So next, CAB, are there any updates from CAB?
I was not at the last CAB meeting.
The last CAB meeting last week, there was, it was a tremendous turnout. It was the most packed I have ever seen the senior center for a meeting such as this. Just so many students, new community interest, new community representatives. There's a lot of getting to know you type activities, engaged, lots of opportunity for student voice and some dialogue around some important topics, such as students getting involved in sending their voice out there regarding climate change and the climate strike, and some activities that student leadership is going to be planning with the school faculty and administration in the coming months. But it was just a real discussion about process and increasing student voice in the school, so it was a really productive dialogue.
So
That's awesome.
TAB the discussion was around looking at climate change, because that's typically a substance abuse awareness.
The IASC component of CAB is where you'd focus on that. CAB as a community advisory board could take on broader topics. It's not just limited to substances or drinking alcohol, so.
Got it, okay.
But it turned into, it was my understanding, a conversation on how students can, their voices can be heard.
it was a very productive
That's pretty
conversation.
exciting.
It does sound exciting.
And establishing the proper, some proper, I don't want to say proper, effective ways of voicing their thinking and planning with faculty and staff to actually maximize opportunities. So it's not just voice and make a statement about something. How can we have voice and then have impact on our environment and expand the message so it's broader than just, a walkout or, some sort of demonstration? What can we do that's more impactful and that really can change people's lives and thinking locally and impact those beyond the walls of our campus?
That's a great development. Thank you.
District safety?
You want,
No.
yeah, sure. So Maura and I were there this morning. Carol chaired and Dr. Harrison was there. The regular stakeholders who are normally there were there, other than Altaris, who wasn't able to be present. We had an update on safety plans and building training sessions, an update on the capital project that pretty much mirrors what we just talked about today, about Phase 1 and Phase 2, some discussion of cybersecurity awareness and the kind of trainings that are done, and also some changes that are coming down from NYSED, New York State Education Department, regarding regulations in that area. And then we had accident reports, which we always look at these meetings. And it was a productive meeting with very interesting input from a variety of stakeholders. Did you want to add anything, Carol?
No, it was a pretty good summary.
Next, IEF.
Sorry.
No, I'm so excited.
You won't be. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go to the meeting 2 weeks ago. I don't know, Chris, did you?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
So there was really, Joyce came and presented about Destination Imagination and efforts that she is leading on behalf of the students in the program. We look at a program that started, I want to say, 5 years ago, right? I would say, DI? About 5 years ago, and now it's expanded all the way from just being Main Street School that we have now. We've entered the high school with teams. So there's some significant budgetary needs. So Joyce is working with both the IEF and PTSA to develop an ongoing fund where there'd be certain amounts of monies that would be dedicated to supporting students as they potentially traveled on to the global level competitions, because it's limited in what the district is able to support in that way. And then they've got into some of their updates around their planning and for some different events for this coming school year. So look for communications. They're also promoting the social that they shared with the PTSA a couple weeks ago. But just look for emails, and they're also doing some of their flash fundraisers. I think they sent out one today where a flash fundraiser, and anyone that donates wins a chance to get some Yankee playoff tickets. So I guess you got to act fast because we're already up to game 4 now, I believe. So.
I'm a Mets fan, so I just suffer all the time.
Thank you. Do we have any updates on the PTSA?
PTSA had its general membership meeting on October 8th. We talked about the capital project a little bit because they put out a call for volunteers to what they were calling the safety committee, but I'll send them a note explaining that we should perhaps call the Enclose the Campus committee, and also for the athletic committee. And they're also looking generally, they need some people to take over. There is a yearly event at Main Street School that's called the Winter Festival, but the Winter Festival is the centerpiece of a village-wide event that's called the Holiday Happening, and they're looking for people who are willing to shadow the current chairs because they're losing people to run it. And they did talk a lot about wanting to do more for the Bulldog Family Fund and to talk a little bit more about need in the community and get the word out generally to people in the community about that. And they also talked about not the sustainability committee in terms of the wellness committee, but more about what they might be able to do to create more community interest in like Irvington Woods and the O'Hara Nature Center under sort of the banner of sustainability. So it looks like there are great opportunities to work with the district on all of these things.
Thank you. So I guess seeing no community members here, we will skip our comments from the community, we'll move.
Booster Club,
What?
Booster Club.
Oh, it's
No,
not on there.
it's not on there.
Did you have a meeting?
They have a meeting every week.
Oh.
I just wanted to, I think the community should know what they're up to. First of all, there's a very large volunteer turnout, which is amazing, including one of our board members. Is out there shoveling, selling chairs and hats and hot dogs and cocoa, and part of what made, yeah, part of what made homecoming, I mean, homecoming was amazing, but, the people selling the goods, you had the president of the, what's his name, Jack?
Yeah.
Jack Moscone, shuffling hot chocolates back and forth. I mean, it was like, they really did a great job. I thought that they should be.
We had lots of stuff there.
Yeah, it was really cool, but they were keeping everybody warm and fed, and the kids were all happy. At one point, you couldn't even get near the tables, like a crush. So I thought on behalf of the board, we should say thank you. It was pretty awesome.
Absolutely. And just think how much better it'll be when we have our new building in place.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
be
yeah.
able to have
Yeah,
everyone over by the field.
Yes.
Wonderful.
We did talk about that.
And if I could just maybe piggyback that with one
Chris
thing
and I
that I
talked
think
about
it's
that,
worth mentioning, Dave and I were talking, and I gotta tell you that the barriers out there, whether you like them or not, were actually wonderful in keeping pedestrians out of the roadway while the bending was occurring.
Yeah, it's great.
But what I would say, one thing that's been very well received and very effective in the early days of the school year is the extended security hours. So the idea of having security guards present at our schools 2 hours later has been very well received. We've actually gotten some fantastic guards, which was noted at the safety committee today. And also, there was really evidence of greater control and security and supervision of our students at homecoming, that rather than having this building open by the MAR entrance and the campus gym open, we restricted it just to the campus gym when we got to Saturday night, and we had a security guard stationed there that was able to supervise everybody. And I have to tell you, it was, from my perspective, much more controlled, safe event. So, just an example of money well spent and a good investment in, safety and security in our schools.
I would absolutely agree with you. Having that security guard there, a lot of people were asking where to go to the bathrooms. And a few people had made comments that there was someone in there and it made them feel better. From volunteering at the entire time at that concession stand, I'll have to say it'll be very nice when the building's on the other side so you can actually watch the game. You can't see it from where we were selling and watching all the kids going back and forth. But I do agree that the wall was, whatever anyone's feelings are about the wall, it definitely,
Worked.
it worked,
Yeah, it
because
did.
a lot
It
of
was
cars
really
are
good.
driving up and down, and the kids are crossing over for the food, and they're all ages, and since the Bulldog Club started, the Booster Club, attendance at homecoming weekend has skyrocketed, and it's
It's-
really nice to see. It's all ages.
And they're working hard. That's why I thought it would be nice to say something, because they really are working
And
hard.
with the village, the rec, their little football team coming out, it's,
Yeah, we did soccer games at home.
yeah,
That's
yeah, for the
adorable.
different sports, so it's really nice.
Well, ask later.
Okay, so we'll now move on to the consent agenda. Can we have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So I think we have a lot of donations this evening that we accepted from the PTSA, so we thank them for all of their grants. They're all listed here. I think we appreciate that. Also thank the IEF for their grant towards the Hudson River Museum Planetarium experience. And, yes, I was trying to find it as I shuffle. I'd also like to acknowledge our staff who have submitted notices of retirement. We have Claudia Rodriguez, Deborah Schofield, and Joseph Beach. We thank them all for their many years of service in the district. Our next public meeting will be here on October 29th. And can I get a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
So moved.
Executive session.
Yes.
Wait,
You wanna go to
What,
executive?
Oh, I thought we were gonna do a executive session.
We are, so,
Oh, we're adjourning.
yeah, adjourn for executive session to discuss litigation.
I'm still moved.
Second. All those in
All those in favor?
Aye.